haunted backroads of America and live from the G&D Show studios, this is your Ghostman and Demon Hunter
Show. Doesn't that sound exciting to you?
Hey, welcome back! Welcome back, Shadow Nation, to the one, the only, mystifying Oracle Radio. Your Ghostman and Demon Hunter show. Demon Hunter!
Happy Halloween!
Almost, my friend. It's almost time for that sacred time of year. Special thanks to all our homes, all our sponsors, Stitcher, Smart Radio, Planet Paranormal, Action Audio Apps. Are you guys listening? They want to know, so check them out at actionaudioapps.com. Midnight Syndicate. The SYL Project, give some love, share some love, help them out today, guys. The SYL Project, the SYLproject.com. Woo! I think we covered everybody there.
I think we did.
Good to be back in studio, man.
Oh, man, my chair is so comfy.
It's I had to dust off the cobwebs, yo. Yeah, anyway. Beautiful day.
It's funny, Sean. We do this show every week, and every week people email us and say, hey, I'm looking forward to the show, and then we do the show, and nobody says a darn word.
Has it been
We're
canceled?
off the air for 3 weeks, and everybody's like, when are you coming back?
Yeah. They contact me and say, is it canceled yet? Nah.
Yeah.
No, that's true, guys. You never say nothing. You don't reach out to us. You don't tweet us. You don't Facebook us. Yeah, they do.
Until we're off the air, and then you say, where'd you go?
Where'd you go? Stop being the silent minority. Come out there. Tell us. The Shadow Nation. Stand tall, stand proud in the shadows. Not in the shadows. Come out of the shadows. For a while. That's a public service announcement from your Ghostman and Demon Hunter show.
Woohoo! We know we're out there. We can see the numbers. Come on.
We are out there, my friend, in a galaxy far, far away. Oh, my God. Did you see the new trailer that was released during Monday Night Football?
I knew you were going to bring that up. I knew you were.
I
watched it just for you, Sean.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
It's all true.
All of it. Hey, man, that was...
I love that meme that's out there with young Han Solo going, there is no one defining force that holds the universe together.
Right.
And then the second one that goes, the Jedi, the Force, it's all true.
It's all true. Yeah. So what do you think's going to happen there? A lot of speculation for our Star Wars sci-fi / horror listeners out there in the Shadow Nation. What do you think's going to happen, Nathan? You got John in there. You got Daisy. I forget the actors. John Boyega, and Daisy Ridley. There you go. Win one for me. And you got them coming in. I think she's playing Ren or something like that. And then you got Kylo Ren, the new villain. Now, there's a lot of speculation. He's not going to be a Sith, but he's going to be led by a Sith. What do you think?
Well, I'm a little worried, Sean. I'm a little worried.
Oh.
I'm just saying I'm worried because I was so disappointed with the 3 prequels.
Well, Boba Fett came on the show and he told us he was disappointed in it. Well... he was. He couldn't come out and say it. But remember, he was like, "Well, they're not my bag of tricks, but it's because I wasn't."
They're not
in
my movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I know. I seen something. A meme. You know what a meme is? It's the new thing. All the kids are saying it. Memes. It's those pictures with funny sayings on Facebook. And Twitter.
Meme. Yes.
Yeah. No, I say meme.
Well, you can say whatever you want.
I'd like to say meme.
Me.
Stretch it out. Anyway, it was a meme.
Babadook.
The Babadook. It's another good movie. A little English humor. I don't get it, English horror, but...
That was actually Australian, sir. Australian.
Well, somewhere like that. But anyway, America. No, what was I talking about? No, the Star Wars tickets went on sale Monday night following the trailer. And I seen a meme... a meme, as you would say. I seen it come on afterwards, and it was a picture of a young Han Solo. And you had Leonardo DiCaprio talking about Titanic grossed this many millions and millions of dollars its opening week. Did you see it?
Yeah, it's like Titanic made this much.
Yeah.
Avengers made this much. Star Wars, and then the picture of Han going, we broke the internet.
In like 18 seconds. Yeah, it was classic. But I think for me, and they show, have you seen the new thing with this? The new thing And I think it's a lot of the hot chicks trying to get, free promotion on YouTube. They're doing the emotional videos, the reactionary videos.
Oh, yes.
And there's this one chick, we'll have to get her on the show. She cries. They're calling her the European Crier. I think she's from Europe. That's why hence the name European Crier. But, I mean, literally, the credits come on and she's crying. So, a lot of people are speculating, is this fake? Is this, and there's some chick out there like, hey, wow, everybody's watching these. I'm going to go ahead. Because there's some hotties, man, on there going, no, So, I got that emotional attachment. I remember Dad and Mom taking me to see Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi at the theater, the dark setting, Jabba the Hutt. We've talked about a lot on the show, the goosebumps. So, yeah, I mean, it does bring up a lot of feelings, but I didn't bust out into tears, but it did give me goosebumps, right? Did it give you goosebumps?
I'm really wishing it wasn't coming out in winter because I would love to see this re-release of Star Wars, or this sequel.
Yeah.
I guess this is a sequel.
Yeah.
To Star Wars.
Get it right.
In a drive-in theater, the way I saw the original Star Wars, A New Hope, before it was A New Hope.
I want the darkness of the theater, my friend.
Well, that's just... The theaters are never pitch dark. They've always got to leave lights on for fire reasons.
Now, let me ask you this. Opening night, I already checked online, my AMC account, and I went online. I signed up for an AMC account because of this event. And, of course, I could not get tickets opening night. Didn't want them opening night. I mean, unless you're going to dress up. They have a day before, Nathan, on the 17th. That opening night's on the 18th of December, guys. Star Wars The Force Awakens, December 18th is opening date. Now, on December 17th, they're having an all-day Star Wars marathon. Now, I don't even know how that works. So you bring urine bags and keep them on you and doo-doo bags or what?
Well, they do have bathrooms in the theater.
Oh, I understand that. But do they have intermissions when there's, 6 movies straight?
Yeah, they usually do like a 20-minute break in there somewhere.
Yeah, well,
in between the films.
Yeah. Well, I seen that and I said, no, I'm not dragging the kids in there. Can you imagine opening night with the kids? So I decided to go the day after.
Oh, admit it. You tried to buy tickets and they were sold out.
Okay, I might have. But I was going to buy myself one and go after I got off work that night. But no, I bought them for the following Saturday and they're selling out. So I bought them for the, my immediate family. And, I was talking to the lady because we went to see Goosebumps this weekend. Excellent flick. And I asked her, and she said, yeah, you better still show up a couple hours early to get in line.
Well, Sean, for a long time, I used to mention that I worked for movie theaters putting out, I worked on the management teams.
Sure.
And I never said what theaters because I'd never mentioned who I work for when I'm working there because I don't want to say anything on this show that turns out offending my bosses.
Right.
But I worked for the AMC movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And when the big movies come along, we would put out standing lines in the morning for movies starting at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Now, how's that work? Can you drop somebody off in the morning and they can stand there all day and reserve your spot in line?
Nope. But if you stand there all day, you can have your spot.
Well, thanks. I would imagine.
So there were people who would show up. Say the movie started at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
Because honestly, it was the whole Batman Dark Knight ordeal, the shootings, that stopped the midnight showings.
Right.
There's still a few movies come out that are midnight showing movies. But most of them now show anywhere between 7 o'clock at night and 10 o'clock at night, the openings. But we would have these 8 o'clock showings at night, and we'd put out the lines in the morning, and by noon to 1 o'clock, people would be there standing in line.
Oh, wow.
Guardians of the Galaxy, people standing in line at 1 o'clock for, the 8 o'clock showing.
Right.
So it's, and so we'd get people who were aggravated. They'd walk into the theater and say, I bought my tickets 3 months ago.
Right.
And you're telling me I have to stand at the end of that line of 200 people to get my seat.
Yeah, how's that possible? Because I bought mine on my phone. You just walk up to the
You do. And you walk up and you scan it, and then you get at the end of the line of everybody who's been waiting there all day because they have their tickets already too.
Oh, wow. Now, what are they going to do? Because surely everybody's not going to have their ticket. There's going to be some oddballs that are going to go,
Well,
hey.
sure, there will be people who show up and want to get a ticket, and there won't be any. But people who bought their tickets in advance will either have their tickets on them, or they will have the printout or the scanning card that you can have on your phone, however you do it. And you walk up to either one of the, ticket takers or something like that. They scan the ticket for you, and it prints out tickets. And then you get in line.
Okay. Do they have them walking around in the crowd that day? Is that how they...
Yeah, pretty much. Literally the way I used to do it when I was on a management team, and I specifically worked large events. I would go downstairs, and because I was a booth manager, I worked my way up to that, and I would go down and start walking up and down the aisle saying, if you have not printed out your tickets yet, we need to print your tickets before you go inside. Otherwise, you will be pulled from the line.
Now, that's opening day, right?
That's opening day.
Okay, I'm going the day after, so it should be...
The day after will still have huge lines.
No, I don't think it will. I don't think it will.
Sean Ted still had huge lines the day after.
So, good Star Wars are breaking. Anyway, Demon Hunter.
I would show up an hour early minimum.
No. Oh, yeah. Well, I plan on getting there a couple hours early, and the kids will just have to deal with it.
Because they open the theaters up usually 20 to 30 minutes beforehand.
Right.
And the lines of 200 people have been standing there for an hour.
Okay. Well,
so
if
when they open up the lines.
If I can get inside the building to stand, I'll consider myself lucky.
And I'm going to say this again, in honor of all those young people who have to sweep up the mess and clean up those theaters. When you're standing in that line out there complaining, the last movie let out 10 minutes ago. Why am I not in my theater yet? Remember all the junk you leave in those movie seats that those kids have to clean up? Pick up your garbage and take it with you when you go, people.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Be respectful, my God.
I know. It's like you wouldn't do that if you went to visit somebody's house and sat there and ate popcorn.
No.
That movie theater has to be cleaned. It gets cleaned by hand.
It's an outrage. I mean, yeah, it's stupid, but they figure since they're paying $300 a ticket, they might as well, you guys can pick up our trash. I mean, it's really
Which
$17
is fine,
a
but then
ticket.
don't complain that you're got to stand out in the hallway for a half an hour while the people clean the theater.
You'd stand out there anyway. That's what happened last night. I took the kids to see Goosebumps. I walk into the theater. We're carrying all our stuff. I got Mom with me and everybody. And there's two little teenagers with their zits all over their face. And they're cleaning out the place. And it's not filthy. It's not overly crazy. And there's already like 20 people up in the audience. And he goes, sir, I'm going to have you to, wait outside. And I said, well, what about the other 20 that's up there? Well, they beat us to it. And, Mom was complaining, my back's hurting. And I was going to hog tie a little pimply teenage kid.
Well, there's an insurance reason for that. The movie theaters are supposed to keep everybody out, and in fact, if those kids go to clean the theater and people are already sitting in there, there's people are supposed to be asked to get up and leave the theater while they clean for insurance purposes. But you got little pimply kids; they're afraid of the people. So.
Right. Well, I'm going to report him. Demon Hunter, without further delay, before I forget, you ready for this?
I am ready.
Big show tonight. Tonight's guest.
Da-da-da.
Oh, there's the music. We haven't heard it in a month, guys. Tonight's guest. He is a New York Times best-selling author known for such works as The Rite and Argo. Oh, man, those are good books. Also, The Rite's a great movie. He has been inside and behind the scenes on one of the world's most controversial topics, exorcism. During research for his book, The Rite, he sat witness to over 30 Catholic exorcisms. And tonight, he's going to tell all about his experiences in the shadows and inside demonic lives. Right here, guys, with author Matt Baglio, author of The Rite and Argo, right here only at the mystifying Oracle Radio, your Ghostman and Demon Hunter show. Well, it feels good.
Woo!
Feels good to have it back, baby. Yeah.
Hey, brother, you think they do Halloween over there?
Matt Baglio. Over where? Where do you speak of?
In Rome, where we're gonna have to call him.
Oh, that's right. Over in Rome, Italy. Bellissimo.
It's basically an American holiday, correct?
You know what? I looked that up the other day, and it is basically an American holiday that we know the history about it. Good tie-in, by the way, to what we were going to talk about.
I
Yeah,
tried.
you did. Very smooth. I liked it. You reel
By the
us
way,
back.
Sean, let me bring up tonight's topic we'll be talking about before the show.
That's our chemistry guys. I always, for 9 years, I've always taken the show and ran with it. Nathan's reeled it back in and said, hey, we got this format and the clock's a ticking. So, and some nights we both just go off into the oblivion. But yeah, man, I looked it up online because somebody had actually asked me at work, hey, man, is this an American holiday? And of course, it is, traditionally big time here, but it's starting to spread everywhere. Usually most countries have their own version of something like it, but Halloween's starting to spread, I think.
In Rome, traditionally there was like an apple festival this time of year.
Really?
I recall, yeah, it's I'd have to look it up. I don't remember the name off the top of my head.
Was it in Apollonia?
No, it was not in Apollonia. It is not a young bride from The Godfather.
Oh, you called me on it, man. I was trying to sound educated, but you called me on it. Oh, I don't know if that's a place, but I thought Apollonia. Yay.
Hey, speaking of movies, Godfather movies,
Yeah.
What scary movies have you been watching? Get ready for Halloween.
Hey, man, I've been watching off and on, of course, Halloween, one of my all-time favorites, Michael Myers. And, you got to throw in some Hocus Pocus and stuff like that. But I really haven't been focusing. And I have 4 days left until I took Friday off because, Halloween's a very sacred time of year for us.
Oh, yeah.
I took Friday off, the night before Halloween. And, of course, I'm off this weekend. So I'm really going to focus on getting in tune with the holiday movies. This whole week's my Halloween week. So I always get sad when it's over. I know we talked about that. We had Manny on from the American Scream and, Victor, Barito, all those guys, and they said they go through that post-depression, post-Halloween.
I do.
I do too. I hate to see it go. November is usually so rainy and blah, and then December comes and it's just nasty.
And then you're just rushing to make sure you bought enough presents for everybody for Christmas.
Yeah, the amount of stress we put on ourselves, I'll never get. But hey, we do it, right?
It's just wrong, man.
It has. Oh, guys, before we get into the Halloween talk, we wanted to tell you that we have shortened our format to 1 hour. So that
Not tonight, we haven't.
Right, yeah. We ran over a little bit, and we probably will with the guests, but me and Nathan are going to try to keep it to 30 minutes, give you guys the latest and greatest and weird news and stuff like that, and then our banter, of course, and then we're going to try to go into the guest segment and let you guys have that a little bit more time with the guest. But let us hear you on Twitter, on our Twitter account or Facebook or wherever else we're at, GhostMan&Demon.com, or email us. Let us know if you like the new format, if you want it or you want it to go back to an hour and a half.
Basically, I think breaking into it tonight, Sean and I agreed it's going to be tough breaking into it, going from an hour and a half down to an hour. So we'll do the half hour tonight, but we'll give the guest the option of going the hour.
Yeah, and that's where it gets tricky because the guests usually say, well, how long are we going to stay? We got a lot of cool guests on there, and sometimes we start talking, and all of a sudden it's an hour and a half with the guest, and we told them 30 minutes,
And I love when people contact me and say, it was such a great guest, he should have been on longer. And I'm sitting there saying, how do you think we keep a guest for 30 minutes? These people are busy.
Right, absolutely. So talking about Halloween, man, take it away.
Halloween and movies, and I went to see Young Frankenstein on the big screen.
Really? When did you go?
I went last Thursday. I went up to the Warner Theater.
Okay.
Here in Connecticut, and they had Young Frankenstein on the big screen, and it was worth every minute of it to see those giant knockers on the big screen.
Roll, roll, roll in the hay.
What a set of knockers!
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I can help you with that hump. What hump?
Yeah. Damn your eyes! Too late.
Too late.
We could do that all night long. That's one of those movies I have to watch. Every Halloween I have to watch that. I have to watch The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price.
Never watched that.
Oh man, it's the original I Am Legend movie.
Oh, okay.
So, you've seen I Am Legend with Will Smith. You might have seen Omega Man.
Yeah.
But the Vincent Price version was the original I Am Legend movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Last Man on Earth. And it's kind of it's closer to the book than the other two.
Right.
But none of them really follow the book, you know. But it's more. It was really, even though it's considered the first zombie film, it was really more of a vampire film.
Okay. And Vincent Price, man. How can
And
you
Vincent
beat
Price, how can you go wrong?
that? Yeah.
I have to watch those two films every year, and of course, Trick or Treat.
Oh, that's a new classic, fairly new classic.
Yeah, 2007, I think that came out,
I think
and
so.
I think since you introduced it to me, and since you introduced me to it in 2007, I think I've watched it just about every year.
Right. Now, in front of me, guys, and you know, this is such a sacred time of year for Nathan and I believe I've mentioned that, and the Ghostman and Demon Hunter Show staff, I brought up 40 fun facts about Halloween. What do you want? You want to do a Q&A? You think I should give them to you, or should we just go through them and mention them?
Read them, and I'll see what I can, what kind of information I can pop out.
Okay, these are pretty good. Here we go. Let's just start with the first jack-o'-lanterns were actually made from
turnips.
There you go, turnips. Now we're starting easy.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Halloween is the second highest grossing commercial holiday after what?
Christmas.
You're on a roll. Okay. The word blank comes from the Old English wiki, I believe that's how you say it, meaning wise woman.
Wiccan.
No, it's W-I-C-C-E. The Old English W-I-C-C-E, witch, meaning wise woman. So what's...
I imagine that's witch.
I just told you. I said witch. It's a witch. Burn her.
I know Wiccan is the religious practice, so I just assumed. So assumption got my ass kicked.
What is the name of the phobia that's the fear of Halloween?
I don't know that.
Come on. Think of some other names for Halloween.
Sawinophobia?
Oh,
Sawinophobia? Sowaphobia?
Is it pronounced Sam Hain?
No, it's Samhain. It's spelt Sam Hain.
Well, I like to say
it's
Sam
pronounced
Hain. So you got it. Sawinophobia. Sawinophobia. It's the fear of Halloween. Okay. Hold on a second here.
Because my father used to always tell me as a kid, if you weren't good, Sam Hain would come and get you.
What? Okay, most kids prefer to get chocolate candy for Halloween. Okay?
Okay. I like Kansas soda, but go ahead.
All right. Oh, my God. Kansas soda. You don't see that traditionally, but 50% of kids prefer to receive chocolate candy for Halloween, compared with 24% who prefer non-chocolate candy and 10% who preferred... Go ahead.
Apples.
Gum.
Oh, gum.
That's one against
Gum was a horrible Halloween candy because you always got that terrible pink stuff that was wrapped in.
Oh, I loved it.
Hated gum for
Bazooka
Halloween.
Bazooka Joe. Okay.
Break my teeth on that stuff trying to bite into it. Although the comics inside were always fun.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, let me try one. The owl is a popular Halloween image. In medieval Europe, owls were thought to be witches. And to hear an owl's call meant someone blank.
Was going to die.
I couldn't continue the sentence because it would have told you someone was about to die. Someone was about to have sex if you heard it now. Okay.
Babadook.
According to Irish legend, jack-o'-lanterns are named after a stingy man named...
Stingy Jack.
There you go.
Stingy Jack.
Stingy Jack, who, because he tricked the devil several times, was forbidden entrance into
enter hell or heaven and was forced to walk the earth forever.
Actually says heaven and hell, but I'll give that to you. But what else was he going to do while he was walking the earth? He was condemned to walk the earth forever. Blank his blank to lead people away from their path.
With his lantern.
Yeah, I give it to you. That's not the proper wording, but okay. The largest pumpkin ever measured was grown by Norm Craven, who broke the world record in 1993 with a blank pound pumpkin.
Was it 200 pounds?
No. It's over 5. That's all I can give you.
I'm going to say about 700 pounds.
The correct answer is 836-pound pumpkin.
Yeah, I didn't know that one.
Can you imagine? That would feed a small country.
Of pumpkin eaters.
Yeah, pumpkin
Named
eater.
Peter.
Peter Pumpkin Eater. Stephen Clark holds the record for the world's fastest pumpkin carving time at 24 seconds, smashing his previous record of 54 seconds.
Never smash the pumpkin. Go ahead.
No, the rule of the competition state that the pumpkin must weigh less than 24 pounds and be carved in a traditional way, which requires at least blank, 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 and blank. Traditional way of carving a pumpkin has to require
Eyes, nose, and mouth.
ears and mouth. Oh, yeah. I never put ears on my pumpkin.
Me either.
Anyway.
Although I only carve 3 traditional pumpkins anymore each year. I put them on my front porch. The rest I carve with like really fancy directions.
Yeah.
But those 3 are to keep Sam Hain from coming to my house.
You carve them with little fat boys on your front porch and give them poison candy.
Yes, and
That's from Trick or Treat, guys. He really doesn't. That's movie reference. Anyway, hey, trick or treating evolved from the ancient blank tradition of
Druid tradition of putting out cakes to lead the dead out of the village.
Of putting out treats and food to placate spirits who Sam Hain Samhain, a sacred festival that marked the end of Celtic calendar year. You said Druid, it's Celtic. Oh!
No, the Druids were the priests of the Celtic religion.
Well, I'm sorry, they would differ with you. Souling is a medieval Christian precursor to modern day blanking.
All Souls Day.
No, it's a modern day Christian. Souling is a medieval Christian precursor to modern day blanking.
I don't know.
Trick or treating.
Oh, okay.
On Hallowmas, November 1st, the poor would go door to door offering prayers for the dead in exchange for soul cakes.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Some of these might just be facts in case I misread them and don't put them in a question. The first known mention of trick-or-treating in print in North America occurred in what year? And it's before 1940. In Blackie.
Before? Because I was going to say 1940, but I'd say probably then around 1937.
Oh, my God. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
1927.
Oh, okay.
10 years off, my friend. And it first occurred in Blackie, Alberta, Canada. First mention of it.
Again, makes sense.
I don't know. How did the Canucks get that? Anyway, Halloween is short for Hallows Eve or Hallows Evening, which was the evening before All Hallows, sanctified or holy day of Hallowmas. It's Hallowmas. On November 1st. In an effort to convert pagans, the Christian Church decided that Hallowmas or All Saints Day, November 1st, and All Souls Day, November 2nd, should be sacred pagan holidays that fell on assimilate sacred pagan holidays that fell on or around October 31st.
Sounds right.
Yeah, anyway. 15, black and orange are typically associated with Halloween. Orange is a symbol of blank and endurance, and along with brown and gold stands for the blank and autumn. So the first one is orange is a symbol of... I'm strong to the finish, because I eats me spinach. Spinach.
You got me beat, man.
Orange is a symbol of strength and endurance. Along with brown and gold stands for the blank and autumn. You don't know it.
I don't know it.
Harvest in autumn.
Ah.
Black is typically a symbol of black. Symbol of
dark.
Death.
Evil.
Death and darkness. I'll give it to you. Okay. The birthplace of Halloween. Nathan, go ahead.
The birthplace of Halloween?
Yeah. It
Are we
originated
talking the traditional Samhain or the actual Halloween?
Actual birthplace of Halloween itself. 2,000 years ago was the birthplace.
That would have probably been England.
Oh, Ireland! You were there.
I was right the first time.
You were so there. Okay. Well, what the we have a bunch of them to go through. Let's go all the way down to the bottom because we're running out of time. Here we go. The Village Halloween Parade in New York City is the largest Halloween parade in the United States. The parade includes how many participants and draws over how many spectators, do you think?
I think it has over 2,000 participants.
Okay, over 50,000 participants and draws over 2 million spectators. Oh, you crushed it, man. You crushed it.
That's insane.
I know, man. Anyway. You want me to finish this, or you want to take the last minute and talk about whatever you want to talk about?
No, I'm enjoying Halloween talk. This is our Halloween show. Let's
It is.
do it, man.
Happy Halloween, guys. Children are more than twice as likely to be killed in a pedestrian car accident on Halloween than any other night. Well, of course.
Well, they wear all those dark costumes and run out around in the street.
Right. In many
Put
countries.
your children on bright leashes, people.
In many countries, yes, such as France and Australia, Halloween is seen as an unwanted and overly commercial American influence.
Okay.
Well, kiss it, France and Australia, because it's fun, and I like it. They just tight A's. They're tight A's. Anyway, that's all I got. That's Halloween facts, guys. You heard it right here. So if you win the lottery off of answering one of those, you owe us 50% of your winnings. I'd have to agree with that. I'd have to go with it.
Now, Sean.
Yeah.
You already had your big Halloween party.
Yes, I did, man.
My big Halloween party will be on actual Halloween.
Oh, that's
so.
cool.
What are you gonna do for Halloween?
Well, I used to take my daughter out with my wife, and we would go to her mother's neighborhood and my mother's neighborhood and father, and we would take her trick-or-treating door to door, which I like. But last year, I said, it's rainy out, it's nasty, and the sis don't pay no attention to me anyway, so nobody ever stays home at our house. We decorate it all up. The kids are like, oh, you kidding me? Because we have the big pumpkin guy out in the front yard and everything. So last year I stayed home, watched scary movies, worked on the Dybbuk box. You remember that.
Oh, yeah.
And I handed out candy. Now, we only got like 15 trick-or-treaters that night, but I got to tell you, it was so nice to actually sit there and just reflect. That's the one night of the year where I just feel nostalgic.
Will you be in costume when you answer the door?
I think I will be the Invisible Man this year. What I tried to do for the Halloween party, but I spilled beer on my bandages and had to take it off like 15 minutes after. The one thing they don't tell you guys online, if you want to go as the Invisible Man, awesome outfit. It lasts about 5 minutes because I wore goggles.
Drink through a straw.
Yeah. Well, I had the bandages where I could pull them down and put and drink my beer, but the goggles start clouding up. And you got to have them. People see your eyes. Because you have the bandages on and the steam from your breath comes up through the eye bandage holes and makes your goggles steam up. So you can't see nothing.
That's a bummer.
What are you going to do? Is it a costume party or what?
It's a costume party. I'm still juggling around with some ideas. I got some good ideas. Usually every year I try and outdo everybody else who comes to my house for Halloween. So I'll come up with something.
Yeah, you're going to carve the pumpkins real fancy.
Oh, yeah, going to do the fancy pumpkins.
Yeah. Now, are you working Friday too?
Yeah, I am working Friday, so it's my Halloween starts at 5 o'clock on Friday.
Okay. We had almost 100, maybe 110 people attend the Burris Halloween Bash 2015. How many do you think is going to show up in your house?
If I'm lucky, 30.
Ooh, that's going to be a packed house.
Yeah, it's going to be, because we do it indoors with the deck adjacent. But yeah, it'll be a nice size party. It won't be as big as the Burris Bash.
I'll have to make it down there one year.
I have to make it to the Burris Bash.
Yeah, it'd be great. And it'd be great to have a G&D show celebrating our 9th year. Well, wait, next year will be our 10th year, right?
Next year is 2006, so...
No, it's not 2006. It's 2016.
Yeah, but... Bite me.
Yeah. Well...
November 2006... Sorry, Dracula walked in the room.
Oh, okay.
November 2006 will be our 10th anniversary, yes.
Oh, wow. 10 years on the air, guys. If you want to throw us a party, go ahead. We've been entertaining you guys for 10 years. It won't be free forever. We got to pay for
November
healthcare.
2006, we announced the Ghostman and Demon Hunter show, and by February 2007, we were full force on the air.
Created in the shadows, remaining in the shadows for all these years.
Hey, folks, guess what? It's only 6 days till Halloween, and Sean and I have a perfect Halloween guest.
We do. We do. Tonight's guest! I didn't catch on to that, but you reeled it back in again. Hey, he's a New York Times bestselling author, known for such works as The Rite and Argo. Tonight we're going to be talking about The Rite, guys. Roman Catholic ritual. The Exorcism. No, not the movie. The Exorcist and the real-life exorcism. Tonight's guest, Matt Baglio. Author Matt Baglio stops by. He's set in on 30 live exorcisms, and he's going to tell us what he's seen in the eyes of those that were possessed. Tonight, only in the Mystifying Oracle Radio, your Ghostman and Demon Hunter show. I'm excited about it, Nathan.
I'm really excited. I've got a very special guest on the line waiting for us.
Absolutely, guys. We're going to go to break. That means I got to hurry up because he's got a very special guest on the phone. He was telling me. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's what I was trying to say.
Well, let me...
Wasn't I clever?
You were. I was like, oh my God, this guy's so clever. But, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Demon Hunter, tell us one last thing about Halloween. One last thing that people wouldn't know about. That only you would know. Yeah, from your past. Like, come on, it's Halloween coming up. You got to have something, right?
Oh, well, let's see. Halloween is coming. We've already discussed that it was based on a pagan holiday named Samhain.
Right.
That it traditionally was used to placate spirits.
Yeah. Yeah.
It also traditionally was focused on the death of the harvest.
Really?
Yes. Yes, because think about it. This is when this was a harvest festival when everything was taken together. You brought in your harvest. Everything's already been gathered up.
Yeah.
Now you're placating the spirits so they don't haunt you through the winter.
Okay.
And to basically kind of make offerings for a good harvest the following year.
All right. Well, I'll buy into that.
So it's, and I certainly hope nobody blows their pumpkins out before midnight.
Yeah. Well, you learned that one off Sam. Trick or Treat movie, guys. Check it out. It's a good one. Anyway, Demon Hunter, you ready to go to break?
I'm pretty much ready.
Okay, well, thanks for that one, because I couldn't find a song tonight. We had a great song picked out for you guys, but instead, the Spitix are back once again with Disco Bunny. Nathan!
What? What happened to the great song we picked out?
I don't know, man. Hopefully it's not, when the guest comes on, hopefully it's not playing. When he comes on, we'll have to stop it real quick. Anyway, guys, Shadow Nation, tonight's guest, Matt Baglio. This is the Spitix, Disco Bunny. We'll be right back.
Oh no! Hello, darling. This is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and you're listening to the Ghostman and Demon Hunter Show.
Hey, welcome back, Shadow Nation, to the one, the only, mystifying Oracle Radio, your Ghostman and Demon Hunter show. Tonight's guest, he is a New York Times bestselling author known for such works as The Rite and Argo. He's been inside and behind the scenes on one of the world's most controversial topics, exorcism. During research for his book, The Rite, he set witness to over 30 Catholic exorcisms, and tonight he's here live in studio to tell us what he saw. Please help us welcome Shadow Nation to studio, Mr. Matt Baglio. Matt, what's going on, brother?
Hey, guys. Happy to be here.
Hey!
It's good to have you here, Matt.
Yeah.
It's a long-distance relationship we're having with you here, Matt.
That's right. They
That's
always
right.
work.
I'm over here in Rome right now.
We say, Bellissimo!
Are you working on a book in Rome, Matt, or do you just
Lives
prefer
there.
Rome? Is it?
I come and go. I'm working on a couple books, but this next book I'll be going back to Washington for it. It's in the vein of Argo, spy related. I do have a novel I've been working on, so hopefully some of your listeners will be picking that up in a couple, I guess a year or so. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
Argo 2, Canada gets the credit.
Something like that. Yeah, a little different. Little stepping back in the career of Tony Mendez.
Yeah. He's like, you stole my title, Nathan. It's a working title. You're going to get sued. No, but you are in Rome, Italy right now, right, man?
That's right. Yeah.
So what is it, like 7:30 there, 8 o'clock?
Yeah, we changed the time this weekend, so it is a little after 6 here. Normally it's a 6-hour difference for the East Coast.
So you never know. But, you know, it's Halloween time. It's getting up. Do you love Halloween time? Do they celebrate it in Italy?
They don't. They're starting to. I mean, it's catching on. There are a lot of international people living in Rome. There's a lot of people who've traveled. There's a lot of Italians. So it's coming on, and even among Italians. So it's not as huge as it is in the States.
Now, Halloween being an American-based holiday, but in Europe they have their carnivals.
They do. The carnival's in February, so that's when they tend to really dress up. But a lot of the kids will put on costumes and go trick-or-treating. You know, the people who are giving out candy may run out of candy by 5 o'clock.
Now, you're in Rome. I mean, it's the city of the Vatican there. Do they ever go up to a house and trick-or-treat, and the people look out and go, "Go away, you devil worshiper"?
Yeah, you know, I can't say it's happened to me, so
Right.
it might have happened. I don't know. I mean, it's a modern city, despite all of the, you know, people, the fact that the Vatican is here and everything.
Oh, yeah.
But it's pretty modern.
Hey, I went to Mass. The Pope was just in New York. I was watching Mass when he came here.
Yeah, the Pope is in New York. He's, you know, I think he had performed an exorcism, somebody had said as well. I don't know, but he's gotten, you know, he's a controversial figure among Catholics.
Right.
But I think he's heading in the right direction. I mean,
Now I have to ask this just because this is inside stuff that came to me through a friend. I had a friend who was actually studying to be a priest in Rome. And he was riding his little scooter through the streets of Rome and cracked it up and broke his arm. And when he woke up, he was in the hospital. And as he was getting his cast put on, he realized the doctor was smoking above him while he was getting the cast put on. And when he fully came to, he realized there was already writing on his cast. And when he pulled up, moved his arm so he could see it, they had used parts of like a food delivery box to make part of the pie, the cast. Now that's from the mid-90s stories, but are the hospitals and everything still?
He said it's not third world there.
Similar.
No, it's not. Rome is a pretty disorganized city, to put it mildly, but it's not third world. There are a lot of good hospitals and institutions and things here. Of course, a lot of amazing restaurants and theaters and clubs and things. So it's not quite that bad.
Right.
And how do they take to Americans over there?
They love America.
Pretty well. I mean, especially young kids. A lot of young kids travel, and I think there's a stereotype about Americans, just as there are other nationalities when they go abroad. So European kids tend to get a little less drunk in public.
Do they ever look at people and say, "You can't be American. You're too thin"?
No, I mean, American. There's so many different types of Americans, and I think people who travel know that. Right. So I don't think there's any animosity towards Americans at all here.
No, absolutely not. But you know what, you guys, you bring up a good point because you started talking about one of the great topics, and I tried to get in there with the Halloween question. Spooky time of year coming up, a ritualistic time of year actually with the ancient
pagan
Druids.
Time of
Yeah,
year.
A pagan time of year, and that brings us to the Rite. New York Times best-selling book comes out. Where did it begin, Matt? Where did your fascination begin with the topic of exorcism? And what was it like growing up as a freaky kid?
Yeah, well, I wasn't really a freaky kid.
Right.
I think I'm pretty normal. At least my wife thinks so.
Yeah.
I grew up in Southern California, and I had a pretty normal childhood. I'm not really into this whole world of exorcism and demons and things. At least I wasn't before I began researching the book.
Right.
So I heard, I was here in Rome working at the time as a journalist, and I'd heard that there was this course being offered to train exorcists, and I, was super interested, fascinated right away. How would that work?
Right.
Would there be an actual exorcism performed in the classroom? And I had all these misconceptions about exorcism. I had seen some movies, just like most of your listeners have, and that's immediately what I fell back on. So I didn't know anything about it, the reality of it, and as a very curious person, I mean, that's kind of my MO as a journalist, as a writer.
Yeah.
I'm a very curious person. I want to know the reality, the truth. So I went down there to find out the truth, and it was very different from what I expected.
Yeah, I've researched you. I've researched the books. Nathan and I have, and you've been quoted. Well, I can't quote you, but you've been known to say things such as that you see nothing, that would 100% beyond the shadow of a doubt that it was the devil sitting there. And then you said some other stuff to where you said things would change. And it's kind of changed the way you look at stuff. When there's a truly possessed person, something was different. Can you go into that? Can you explain it, the differences?
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated question. But
we got time.
The short answer is that I did see 30 exorcisms. I didn't see personally anything in front of me that was supernatural or preternatural, as the exorcists like to say. Anything that was, okay, that is a demon, or that's something that can't be explained.
Right.
I didn't see anything like that. However, I interviewed enough people, and I spent a year and a half working on the book, doing lots of research, most of it in Italian. I was interviewing lots of Italian exorcists, and I was sitting in on exorcisms, and I was interviewing the people who were undergoing exorcism. And I talked to enough people across the board, atheists, scientists, psychiatrists, priests, you name it, who told me amazing stories. And after a while, you start to realize that there's something going on here, that it's just something to it. And there's a rare sliver, we could say, where there's something going on that is currently, nobody can explain it. I can't say that, okay, well, that's proof that the person's problems are being caused by a demon, but it seems to fit that pattern that these exorcists are saying what a demon is and, what an exorcism does. So it's an interesting world, and I didn't expect that. I'm much more of a skeptic.
Right.
And I guess I'm a skeptic by nature, but I think interviewing those psychiatrists and having them say to me, I'm a board certified psychiatrist. I've seen thousands of patients. I know what schizophrenia is. This is completely different. And again, these are the cases we're talking about where objects are levitating, plates are flying off the walls. I had a woman tell me that she had rosary beads. She had a rosary with the glass beads hanging around it on the door handle, and she went out of the room. She came right back in the room, and the beads were missing from the rosary, and she found them crushed in a little powder outside the house.
Wow.
Other things that, and again, people weren't necessarily trying to convince me. Like, they really didn't care. I mean, they were undergoing these things. They were seeing them. And what I found interesting is that when you're trying to do something serious about a topic that many people have marginalized, you'll find that a lot of people who may not have said anything about it in the past, who have had their own experiences, will come forward and tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Matt, I've been studying the occult side of people's belief systems for years. That's, Sean studies the reaction, the action, I study the reaction kind of thing. And I have gone on exorcisms. The first 3 I ever went on in my life were the ones that kind of set the tone for the work that I do. The first one that I went in on was, the most remarkable thing I'd seen. I was kind of convinced that something was going on that I couldn't explain, and it stuck me to it. The next one I went on, I thought, this is totally fake. This is totally bogus. The next one that I went on kind of left me questioning what was happening, if I wanted to be more a part of it, but it involved the Catholic family. And once the Catholic Church got involved, because I wasn't Catholic, I wasn't allowed to be a part of it anymore.
Oh, wow.
How did the Catholic Church respond to your being involved with these?
Well, I mean, the Catholic Church, it's a big entity. Just like when people criticize the Vatican, the Vatican, there's many people within the Vatican. There isn't some sort of unified command. I mean, so the church, I didn't seek official permission from the church.
Right.
I just went and talked to the individual exorcists who they happen to be Catholic. Again, that's because I followed, in my book, The Rite, I followed Father Gary Thomas, who was a Catholic, and he had come here to Rome to learn to be an exorcist. So that's kind of the arc of the book. I mean, I went down to this course, and there was this Catholic priest there,
Right.
and he was very honest with me that he didn't know anything about the devil or demons or an exorcism, but he'd been appointed as an exorcist, and he was there to learn. So I asked him, can I follow you around? And he was very open with me. I think that without that right there, I don't think I would have been able to probably write the book. It probably would have just been an article.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, because I could speak Italian, I would go to talk to these exorcists, and I had some questions that this American priest, he couldn't ask because he couldn't speak Italian. And I think my approach was very much along the lines of, look, I want to do a good job. I want to write a serious book about this. I want people to know the truth. I'm going to write the book, and I'd like it to be as accurate as possible. So share with me your experiences. And it took some time. I mean, in the beginning, they didn't want to speak with me. And then slowly they became more open to speaking with me. And then once they met me, and I interviewed probably 20 exorcists, I don't know. Once they met me, that sort of was the process of how I could then go in and see an exorcism.
Right.
And participate. And you mentioned that you saw 3 here in Rome. It's a lot different. I mean, there's a waiting room. There are probably 10 people out in the waiting room, and he'll see them. They're not all 10 there for an exorcism, but he may see 6 of them, and they'll have people there with them. And the exorcism may last 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And
Wow.
So you're there. That's also a part of it that's kind of bizarre here in Italy. You're there. You're sort of just kind of trying to gain their trust, and I think that it is a process. And I know that these people, even today, when I talk to other journalists, especially people who want to film exorcisms, it's a lot harder to get that kind of access because I'm just there to witness, and then I'm writing a book. And again, I wasn't hired by the church to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do this for anybody. I did it to try to tell the truth of the story.
Now, Matt, you and Nathan, go ahead, Nate. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, do you ever watch these exorcisms, and in the middle of it, being a psychologist or psychiatrist, I might have messed that up there. Do you ever look at this and at somebody going in for an exorcism and just say, wow, this person's really just suffering from depression?
He's
Oh,
not.
all the time. I mean, all the time. I have my own questions. This person doesn't seem to be having a demonic attack, or their problems are spiritual in any way. It seems completely mundane or normal. And so I'd ask the exorcist, how do you know? And he would tell me how he had come to the conclusion that this person was suffering from a spiritual attack. Because, according to the exorcist, there's the different levels. It isn't everything right away demonic possession. Those are very rare. The symptoms are hard to pin down. From my perspective, having just seen 30, that seems like a lot, but these guys have seen, thousands. So they know it. They know how to, I guess, gauge it in a way, but they're very cautious. And one of the things I found interesting about the Catholic approach, or I should say I found refreshing about that, the Catholic approach, is that they're required to work with a psychiatrist or a psychologist. They should do that. And if they're not, they're going against the rules of how they're supposed to proceed. They need to vet these people through modern science. So it isn't what I expected when I went to the course. I thought, okay, here we go. I'm gonna have a fundamentalist type priest who is gonna convince me that every problem that exists in the world is because of a demon.
Right.
Instead, it was really quite the opposite. I had a psychiatrist standing up in front of the class telling me the difference between the various signs and symptoms of mental illness versus demonic possession. But it isn't an exact science, and it's very hard. And I would say that 90%, and this is according to the exorcist, 90% of the people who go to see an exorcist don't need an exorcism. They've seen too many movies. They're too impressionable.
Right.
And this is another interesting aspect about exorcism. You would think that the Catholic priest is out there going around town trying to convince people that their problems are demonic. Instead, it's the other way around. They're being inundated by people coming to see them, and they're saying, look, go away. You don't need an exorcism. Go,
Right.
Go to church, pray, you're fine. Because they see so many people. It's because the public, I think, it's in a weird way, there's this type of person who's out there who finds it easier, I think, to believe that their problems are related to a supernatural being rather than it's just because of their own actions.
That's a lot of different too, Matt, because, I grew up a Catholic Baptist. Mom was Irish Catholic, and Dad was Baptist. So when I would go to the Bible class, I remember everything was the devil. If you had fear in your heart, it was the devil. There was a traveling evangelist, Brother York. How everybody was called brother or whatever, in the church. He came to town, and he was a cleanser. Whatever he would do cleansings, which is what the equivalent to Baptist exorcism, to the Catholic exorcism. They call it cleansings. He would come to the place and say, if you're fearful of the things I say, like, demons screaming through women and eyes rolling back, which anybody would be, kind of hesitant to that. He said that's a demon. And don't you remember, like in church, if you went when we were a kid, a lot of the times it was the devil. I remember my dad would always say, the devil's really working on me today. What happened, Pop? Well, I was at work and this guy said something and my anger got the best. The devil's really working on me today. You know what I'm saying? You would think the Catholic Church.
It's a saying, I think, for some people. It can become a metaphor. Within the Catholic Church, one of the things I found interesting is that there are priests who don't believe in the devil. And,
Right.
The layperson, I can say, well, I don't necessarily believe in the devil, or I do, or whatever. But you're a priest. You should believe in it because the Catholic Church teaches that the devil is a personified being.
Right.
So, but there is a huge group of priests in the Catholic Church that don't believe in the personified, form of evil.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to me, and this Catholic priest who Father Gary was trying to learn all about the teaching of the church. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around the devil as far as even what the church teaches. The theology about the devil, very, very interesting. What a pure spirit is. Thomas Aquinas goes into it at length in all these books, and I found that to be very interesting. Much of that is in my book.
Oh, yeah.
But, I think that the danger, and again, I talk to these priests, there is this danger, and I see it, and I've seen it among people who go to see exorcists, to give too much power to evil. It's you focusing too much on evil. And I talked to this priest, and I said, well, what about those kinds of things? Demon of alcoholism, demon of infidelity.
Right.
And he said,
Anger.
no. He shook his head, and he said, no. We all have sin. We all sin.
Right.
You know, we all have problems and weaknesses. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something completely different. So in his mind, when he was talking about demonic possession, and this is the priest who trained the Father Gary Thomas in my book, and he's considered to be very knowledgeable.
Father Carmine?
Father Carmine, yeah, when he said when he talks about that demonic possession, it isn't that way. So he has a completely different view of it. I would personally probably think that aspect of trying to get too much importance is just sort of putting a name on a feeling or an urge that, you know, these exorcists would not, having talked to the exorcist, they wouldn't perform an exorcism under those conditions.
Now, what you're saying, Matt, is we can't blame everything on somebody else, which could totally ruin American politics.
Yeah. Like, thanks a lot, Obama.
I'm not telling you. Yeah, I'm not telling you my opinion. I'm telling you again the opinions of these exorcists. I'm just the guys there to take down what they're the experts. Right. So, but again, I found that to be kind of refreshing. You know, I was expecting the opposite. Oh yeah. And whenever I hear about a priest or a minister, whoever is interviewing somebody and trying to do the discernment, you know, to decide whether or not this person's problems are spiritual, and they're having these leading questions, and they're reacting with raised eyebrows and right. Oh no, that's you just right there opened the door. Whenever I hear those kind of things, I cringe a little bit, because if you know anything about human nature, you know that you can't lead people when you're asking questions, and it's a danger, even among, you know, guys who have this experience. So I'm not trying to disparage people. Mistakes can be made. Hopefully people will be cautious and not jump to the conclusion that my problem is spiritual in nature before trying to exclude millions of other reasons for why they could be having problems.
You were Father Gary's character in the movie The Rite. Oh my God, I just knew it. You weren't the journalist. You were that's how the father was. He's like, man, this isn't exorcism. This girl needs professional help. She doesn't need an exorcist. Do you remember that? That was you.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the screenplay was
you
written
wrote
by
it.
somebody else.
You didn't write the movie.
But
yeah.
I just always, one of the reasons I wanted to write the book was because I did think that there is a little too much hysteria around the topic of exorcism, and I think it was stopping people from having a serious discussion about it. Look, there are millions of people all over the world who believe in demonic possession. They go to see exorcists. You described Baptist ministers. There's every denomination has this idea of exorcism. Other religions, you know, everywhere. So it's an important belief that exists, and yet in a weird way we haven't been able to have kind of a serious discussion about it. And I think one of the reasons is because it becomes so marginalized immediately, either by Hollywood movies who completely over-sensationalize it, or by people who are too credible and you know, the devil is responsible for everything, or, you know, and then there's extreme cases where people are actually harming other people while they perform an exorcism. I mean, this is completely unacceptable. An exorcism is a prayer. It's a healing ritual. These exorcists, they don't hit people. They don't hurt them. And the people who, according to the exorcists, the people who they claim are possessed by demons, they're not evil. Those people are not evil in and of themselves. So, and it isn't a disease that you can catch. So it isn't something like, oh, you know, keep these people away from me. I don't want anything to touch me or come into me. That's not how these Catholic exorcists approach this topic. They approach it much differently.
Well, Matt, I've got to ask you this question because you're probably the one person who's seen the movie more than I have with the Rite. What was with the frogs?
Which part were the frogs? I'm trying to remember.
Every time he turned around, there were frogs somewhere.
In the movie The Rite?
Yeah.
They're demons.
You know, I think it was a reference to one of the cases that I had there was an exorcist, it may have even been Father Carmine, who had seen a woman, no, I think it was a different exorcist, who had seen a woman vomit up during an exorcism, vomit up a black toad that was alive. Yeah. And this black toad, when he went to grab it, it turned to like a black goo.
Yeah.
And another exorcist told me that he had seen a person vomit up nails that then turned into a black goo. So I think it was in relation to that. Well, there are some bizarre stories in the book that, again, I didn't see any of these things, but these were from credible exorcists who had seen these things. And again, they were rare. It wasn't like, oh, I've been performing the ritual over 100 people and all 100 of them had these kind of symptoms. It could have just been one out of 10,000. I don't know, but
Yeah.
But each of them had one of these stories to tell me, and I didn't find those as unnerving so much as the other stories where the exorcist was more or less talking about an entity as if the entity had been watching them, and they knew private things about them. That to me was a little bit more unnerving. So not the physical spectacles, if you will, and those are kind of hard to put in a movie, when you're just sort of trying to do the subtle. The subtle thing is very hard when it comes to exorcism.
Oh, yeah. But, Matt, one of my favorite quotes, skeptics are always looking for the truth. And the question was, what on earth would we do if we found it? Anthony Hopkins said that, of course, and you know what I mean, in the movie, The Rite.
Yeah.
And that's true. And, I've spent most of my life, grew up in a house where weird stuff happened. There's a spiritualist movement going on in the world today. I don't know what you think about that, but they say it's the second coming of the spiritualist movement because you got shows everywhere. Spirit hunters, ghost hunters, house hunters, haunted house, my dog's haunted. And I mean, it's all over the world, Italian hunters, pizzeria. I mean, we're just everywhere. It's in the media. It's in people want to know. They're back in that spiritual realm. Is that what you think might have guided the Catholic Church with the rock and roll priest or rock and roll pope that's in there now that's kind of cool, laid back, he's attaching with people, and now the archdiocese says we need a exorcist in each one. You have to excuse me, I don't know what they came out with. I know when you went through the research of the book, that's when they were bringing the guys in to be trained as exorcism. Do you think that's what's leading it? Is there a rise in some kind of paranormal activity around the world?
Well, I think it's more of an awareness that there is, the church, the exorcists and the diocese, the bishops, it really is what it comes down to, the bishops, because each bishop's kind of like a general of his diocese. He's in charge of appointing an exorcist. It's really probably an awareness out there that there is this interest, as you mentioned. I don't necessarily know that if it's become heightened, because if you go back in the 70s and 80s, there was that huge explosion back then as well.
Yeah.
Certainly there are more TV shows, you're right about that, and movies. But, when I first began the book, they had just started this course, and what's interesting about the Catholic approach to exorcism is that before the course, there wasn't really a unified approach to how an exorcist should perform the ritual. So I think the idea behind the course was we need to educate people and priests specifically, so that they understand what the church teaches about exorcism, why it says we can do what we do. And again, this isn't just to say that the Catholic approach is the only approach or the best approach. It's not that at all. It's just that I happen to be here in Rome and I follow this Catholic priest, and so I kind of stuck to the research that he was doing. I did talk to some other people who perform deliverance and ministries and these kind of things in various places in the States, but I focused on the Catholic approach.
Right. So
there is an awareness out there. Exorcists say, it's because of all this desire to be involved in the occult. There's no exact science for why, but again, I think that there's always been this interest out there. For sure, it's undeniable that there are less. The numbers of people involved in organized religion is going down,
right?
Especially young people. But I think I think most people are curious by nature, and the idea of spirits is very interesting because it's an unknown. It's very hard to, as you said, are we going to find the proof? It's very hard in a way to prove it. And when we were talking earlier about seeing an exorcism in person versus seeing one filmed,
right,
there's a massive difference between when you watch one on TV or you see one filmed versus when you're there in person. There's just a human element to it. There's a feeling. There's something that you can, there's a palpable thing going on versus when you see one filmed. And I had this laugh with an exorcist because all these journalists want to go into a room, film an exorcism. I guarantee you, if they gave somebody permission and they came in and they filmed it and they showed the person levitating off the chair, probably half the viewers would think it was faked.
Right. It'd get 2 stars out of 10 on Amazon. Yeah.
And on that, you know, what you were saying earlier, about, Sean had asked you about what you had seen that convinced you or didn't convince you. I know through the exorcisms I've seen over the years, one of the things that tilts me one way or the other into believing is a quality to the voice during the exorcism, and has what tilts you that one way or the other?
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah. Did you hear the voice?
Oh gosh, I don't even like to talk about it.
Well, I mean, I think I heard the voice. I heard it a couple times. It is very uncanny. Definitely made the hairs stand up on the back of my neck.
Well, you guys are saying the voice. Is this one voice that links them all, or is this the dual set of
It's
vocal
an
cords?
aspect to the voice, Sean, which I actually don't even discuss with people because I don't want somebody to learn how to fake it.
Well, now's the time to discuss it because the world wants to know. We have Matt Baglio, world famous author, on.
I remember the first time I heard the voice. I was in the classroom, and another exorcist came up, and he was a friend who knew Father Gary, and he came up and he was working at a shrine, so he'd seen lots of strong cases, and he said, "Listen to this." He had his MP3 player. You know, this was 2006,
right? And
he gives it to me to listen to, and didn't ask, you know, "Are you ready for this?" And he played it, and I heard this woman's voice, and it just sounded like an animal that had been cornered. And he told me it was a woman who'd come into a shrine, and she started shouting and screaming during the mass, and he had come over to her to try to corral her into a separate room, and she just was screaming, and her voice had this tangible quality to it. It was very uncanny. It sounded like a dog speaking, and
right.
But again, it had the quality of an animal being cornered, and I heard that a couple times. There's an unnatural highness and lowness that comes into it. It just doesn't seem like a human speaking. It goes so high or so low. But those are rare. I mean, I don't want to give the impression that every person has this voice, because they don't, and it's a different voice with every person.
Yeah.
And for me, the aspect of it that got to me, actually being in the room and hearing it happen, was the aspect, Sean, that it was almost in stereo around me.
Yeah. Yeah,
it was very, very odd.
Kind of like the audible EVPs that we've received. Remember that house we were at?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've been in houses where you actually the disembodied voices. Yeah.
Yeah, disembodied.
I had one exorcist tell me that happened to him. He said that he'd heard a voice out of nothing, out of the room.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that. I didn't hear that stereo effect. I didn't have that kind of.
That was a very unusual experience for me. That was actually the very first case I ever went on, and it scared me so badly that it was a long time before I went on another case like that.
Well,
so.
you know, and a lot of.
Maybe I felt more in good hands in the sense that these exorcists were performing their rituals in their rectories, and so you're surrounded by crucifixes, and you're not going out in the middle of the night to a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. You're in the middle of the city, and that's also kind of interesting too. You could be on the bus and you could be going home from one of these sessions next to 3 or 4 people, and there's no outward signs. You don't look at somebody and see the makeup that you see in the movies. They look people are completely normal. And I saw a couple of girls and men, dressed very fashionable, going in to see these exorcists. So that's another interesting aspect of it. I expected to see something outside. Oh, that person is definitely looking weird and troubled.
Yeah.
But
Linda Blair.
It's not like that.
Was it? Yeah. I can't make fun of it now. We're too deep into the topic. No.
Well, and the other thing you mentioned earlier, what made me see this as something slightly believable. Well, oddly enough, it's more of the positive side of it. I mean, many people focus on the negative, but I think that there is this positive side, which is people are getting help. And people they told me with tears in their eyes, I went to so many doctors and specialists for years. Nobody could help me. Nothing worked. And I was desperate. Nobody believed my problem was spiritual, etc. And then I came to see this exorcist, and he started to help me. And so there's the positive side of it, and these people are getting better. And this goes to, I did a lot of research into anthropology and native societies. They use exorcism in a way. It's almost like folk therapy, and there's an aspect of it that can help people if it's done in the right way. And again, that's the key element there. It has to be. It's a healing prayer. It's not a violent prayer, and it's not where you are facing off against an evil person.
Right.
The person is not evil. The person is in need of help. And when you think of it in that way, when you're in the room, even if you don't believe in it, you see somebody who's suffering, and they clearly are in need of some help, and so you have a lot of empathy for them.
Well, even, some of the people split personalities and things. They're not evil, but they can still rip your face off. Southern California, they blame bath salts. I know you've heard about this, man. You were out there. I think it was Southern Cal. Remember the guy, they were saying zombies are here in America.
And that was Florida and California. Yeah,
the homeless guy got his face eaten off by a guy that was running through the streets. And of course,
oh yeah, I kind of maybe I did hear about that. Well, in Italy you have, in other places of the world you have the whole phenomena of satanic cults and people who believe in things, and yeah, in a weird way, that is almost more frightening than the idea of a demon. Because let's say a demon exists, well then that means God exists, and there's
Right.
angels, or there's good and bad.
Now
A
you're
psychotic man with a knife or something, that's
now,
that's a different subject though.
Matt, I you know how much respect we have for you. Big fans of your work. Your books are amazing. Listen, I'm 13 years old. I'm on the south side of Indianapolis. My father's the deacon of the Baptist church. We go in one night. Brother York, that traveling evangelist that did cleansing. What do they call that? What does the Baptist call that? Excuse my ignorance. It's not the homes of cleansing.
They call it
one of the
exorcism. I mean, it's an exorcism.
Yeah.
I don't mean to say that it's not like the Catholic Church has a copyright on the word exorcism, but
Right.
the Catholic Church describes it as exorcism. They're using prayers that were written in some cases in the 5th century, which is interesting. But it's there are people who call it deliverance, any like a blessing. A priest can perform a blessing, but it's basically an exorcism.
I'm 13 years old. I sneaked down in my Sunday school class. I was told by my father to wait in the van. Of course I'm not going to. They told me. I heard Mom and Dad talking that a woman had been raped, and she came to Brother York to cast these demons out. The guy, Brother York, was only there for a week or whatever, so I snuck in the back of the church. Of course, I'm 13. And I looked down, and you have Brother York, his wife, my mom, and my dad, and they're standing around this woman. And it starts, the voices, everything else. I don't know. I've never been in an exorcism since. But I did see her eyes. And, the funny thing is he pulled these demons out of this woman conveniently into his wife so he could speak to him. And I remember thinking that at 13, oh, my God, what's going on? I mean, I was scared to death. I was expecting Linda Blair to come up behind me. But
pea soup everywhere.
Yeah, pea soup everywhere. But
he took the demons out from the woman into his wife so that he could speak to the demons through his wife?
Yeah, my dad got mad because his dad said even in the Bible, Christ himself cast the demons into swine, and swine ran into the lake and they drowned themselves. So he had put the demons through his wife, or communicated to them through his wife, which I thought, well, that's a ventriloquist act, right? Because she says the classic, Legion. I remember that. Who are you? I'm Legion, for we are many. Well, that's straight from the Bible. I seen it.
Yeah, so the minister's wife was the person then who was communicating through, not the woman who was undergoing the exorcism.
Right, but she was frothing at the mouth, the eyes rolling around, that kind of thing. Now, you guys have seen much more than I have, but to this day, I have been on a quest with the ghost and all this stuff to find more. It's drove me nuts. When I was a kid, I used to walk to the library and read nothing more than Ghost of America, Ghost of the World. I've always searched for it. You, my friend, have been there. 30 plus times you've been there. You've peered into the darkness. So many people say. You've seen this. I can't answer the question, are these things real? Are demons real? But in your honest opinion, what do you think the probability of something being there like this, demonic control?
Well, again, before we get there, let's talk about what demonic control means.
Yeah.
I've never heard of an exorcism performed in the way you just described it. The Catholic priests would never do something like that.
Right.
The idea of demonic possession, and I talk about this in my book, it isn't that the demons are inside somebody, because they're if you believe in demons the way that the Catholic Church believes in demons, they believe that they're fallen angels, which means they're pure spirits, which means they don't have bodies. They're incorporeal entities. They don't live in a person
Never been
physically.
human.
They're not like you could see them on an X-ray.
Right.
They influence people, and I describe this in the book as one exorcist told me. It's imagine they're connected to them like through a tube. And so they're sending these inputs to the person, and they don't need to be there. They don't need to be present. They want the person to turn away from God. And then it's when the exorcist begins performing the ritual that the entity is sort of pulled through this pipe because it can't resist anymore. And then it's brought out, and if it's a strong demon, again, this is what exorcists tell me, then the eyes will roll up and have this aversion to the sacred, and it could last a few seconds, and then it's gone. So the person's always in control of themselves. They're not, and maybe in that one moment when the demon comes through during the ritual, they lose control, but they're not, they're still responsible for what they do. So that, in a way, is what we talk about when we talk about demonic control. So we're not talking about somebody who's walking around town controlled by a demon and they're committing acts, terrible acts.
Right.
That's not the way that the Catholic Church believes it works. And if you believe in God and you believe that you're eventually going to go in front of God at the end of your life and be judged for your actions on, when you're alive, that makes sense to me theologically, because you could say, well, all those bad things I did, it wasn't me. And it was the demon doing it, not me. And God would say, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, go on.
Right.
No, I mean, that doesn't make sense. So there's a dynamic here that is part of the larger idea of the faith. And that's why exorcisms are important, but they're not as important as the other aspects of the faith, which is practicing your faith, praying, living a good life, all those kind of things. So having said all that, my personal belief, again, I didn't see anything made me convinced demons. I am a Catholic. I believe in God, so I believe in a spiritual world. God is a spirit, and I think there is something here, something going on. I don't know what it is. I'm perhaps too rational to immediately say yes, it's a demon. But I don't know. I think that I really think that if you look at physics, weirdly enough, quantum mechanics and these kinds of things, maybe one day we'll be able to actually prove that there is another level to our existence, and we can interact with incorporeal beings on some level, and they can influence us. The odd truth is that if it's not a demon, it sure seems to be acting like one when the priest is praying the ritual. So there is that aspect of it to think about. Whether or not the person is faking, and there are people who fake because they want to impress their spouse or whoever. They want to show everybody how holy they are because they're being attacked by a demon. That's common.
Right.
So people have to be careful. But again, I think there's some rare cases here which clearly go beyond the ability to explain it through a rational mind. Like, that's where on my limits, I hit the wall. I can't explain it, and I don't know what it is. And it is, again, these are rare cases, but something is going on.
In the Rite, Father Gary Thomas, his character was talking to the priest at the very beginning, and the priest said, sin is from the devil. And he said, well, we're all sinners. So if sin's from the devil, aren't we all from and I'm paraphrasing here, aren't we all from the devil? And how do we fight that? So that leads to a good question. Wouldn't we be outnumbered? You're seeing, you said 6, and that's astronomical numbers compared to America, because I think it's still kept in the closet here in the States is kind of like a kind of frowned upon thing. We don't, oh yeah, exorcism, ha ha ha, and they kind of laugh it off. But aren't we outnumbered? If demons are real, these beings that have never been human, that have roamed the earth since they've been cast out of heaven, wouldn't we see hundreds, thousands of people in the States, all over the world coming forward with this phenomenon?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, I tend to put more importance on God and
Right, sure.
light rather than the dark, and I think that is the ultimate dichotomy with how it works with exorcism. You've got everything's up to God. I mean, if you going back to what the Catholic Church teaches, well, who is the devil? Devil's a created being. God created the pure spirits. Some of the pure spirits sinned. We don't know what happened, why they sinned. They were cast out of heaven. It's not a physical place. It's a state of being. You know, they were basically removed from the presence of God. So they lost this connection. They became evil through that absence. And they don't have as much, now, again, this is my opinion. I'm just telling you the theology of the church. You may agree or disagree with it, but this is the theology that these Catholic exorcists believe in. According to the fact that they were created beings, they don't have as much power as God. So God is in charge, and He can cast out evil spirits. He can do whatever, He can do anything, whatever He wants to. And that's what one exorcist told me. He said, it's all up to God. A person can be freed without an exorcism. They can have to undergo a long ordeal. And that, begs the question, well, why would God allow something like this to happen? It's a great question. Most people, I don't think, have a really good answer for that. I asked it many times. The only real answer I think they can come up with is that in order to turn bad into good. Because if a person suffers, eventually they'll come back to God, and they will maybe convert those around them who have strayed away from God and return back to the faith and to God. But I tend to put more strength in the good side, and I think there's also a danger with the fascination of evil, and at the end of the day, I can't say. I'm just one person, but this is again what exorcists were telling me. So, and that's why I think a lot of priests don't necessarily focus on the devil. And I personally wouldn't like to go into a church and be told that everything is the devil and the devil's going to get me and to worry about the devil, because that is it's more of that's a different way of approaching God, and scaring people toward God. I would rather have the person tell me that God can make great things happen and try to go in that route.
Right, absolutely. Well, I tell you what, Matt, I know we've kept you over so long. Nathan, I'm going to let you keep it over, brother. It's been amazing, and wow, Nathan?
Well, I'd just like to point out one thing, Sean, back to the question you had just asked. When I was working with different exorcists, the verse they would always bring up to me, biblically, why everybody just doesn't wind up being attacked by the Bible, was in 1 John 4:4, which is, you are of God's little children and have defeated them, for greater is He who is in you than he who is in the world. Meaning the power of God is stronger in a person than the devil is outside of him. And so, it really takes a attack against that individual person, which is an attack. It's a time expensive attack against a person, and a demon would have to have a reason to actually go in and do it, which is why you don't see it around every corner.
I looked at it this way, and I saw lots of people who came to see an exorcist who I could tell were not suffering from a spiritual ailment, if you will, and they were just trying to prove that they were a good soldier for God, if you will. And I think the difference is that this outside force, attacking you and coming into you, I just didn't necessarily. What I'm trying to say is that in most cases, when the exorcist told me this is a strong case and this is a serious case, it was when the demon was trying to hide. So I think that's more of the dynamic that I feel like is where people are more affected. It's the hidden, it's the subtle, it's the slow con, if you will. It isn't this jump out and push
I
you
like
up
that definition.
It's not the jump up and push you up against the wall with an unseen force, because then you're, like Keanu Reeves and Constantine, and, you just pull out your magic shotgun and you can go to town. It doesn't really that's an action movie. Instead, the way these guys described it, the way that the suffering that they deal with and the challenges that they deal with is it's such a long thing, and it's such a hard thing to really put their finger on. And a lot of them lose their faith sometimes too, because they're constantly being deceived. They think they get it wrong. They see people suffering. The person is berating them, saying that, laughing in their face, saying that they have no power. But and the person themselves are getting isolated. They feel lonely. They feel desperate. So that I think, again, going back to the theology, that to me makes a little bit more sense than what you would think of as this action movie kind of attack. And that's what Exorcists were telling me was their concern and what they were dealing with the most.
I have to ask these last couple questions here because our fans won't forgive me if I don't. Blending over a little bit over to Argo, writing the book and then seeing it on the movie, watching it play in theaters, because I used to work in movie promotions and saw that play for so long in the theaters. What was not in the movie that was in your book that you really wish you had seen in the movie?
There's a lot of things that I wish they had put in the movie. The movie was very dramatic, and the ending of the film was very dramatic. There was a lot of tension. Obviously, who am I to criticize Ben Affleck? The guy won an Oscar, so he did something right. I just write books. I'm not a filmmaker. But
I'm trying to convince people to go read the book, even though they've seen the movie. Come on, tell us what was in the book.
They should read the book. I mean, the things I loved about the book were the ingenuity around this mission. And one of the things that attracted me to this topic, and the same with exorcism. I mean, I didn't have any idea about exorcism. I thought people had this misconception of what it was, and then I wanted to tell them the truth. And I think it was kind of the same with Argo. The CIA, they get such a bad rap, and in some cases deservedly, in some other cases not so much. And in this case, it was one of those cases when it was a great win for the CIA, and it was all about ingenuity and disguise, and kind of they were basically magicians and illusionists. And this man, Tony Mendez, he really did go to Hollywood. He really did create a fake Hollywood production company. And he really did go into Iran at great risk to himself. Yes, the Canadians housed the Americans. They provided some intel. They did a lot of great things. But the most difficult part of the mission was coming through the airport. That if they had found that this guy was there and he was CIA, he would have definitely probably been executed. And he went in with such flair, and he convinced these people that their disguises were going to be so much fun that they really got into it, and to the sense of being almost over the top. You got to remember, this was 1979, 1980, and so he told them, "You're going to be a Hollywood location scouting party." And some of these people, the story is the 6 Americans escaped from the embassy, and they're holed up with the Canadians, and he's gone into Iran to get them out. And he helped to disguise them, and some of them went way over the top. So they were going into the airport, and that one guy had his shirt unbuttoned down to his belly button, and he had his hairy chest with his gold medallion on, and he was sashaying through the airport security. So there was a lot of humor in the real story that wasn't in the movie.
Now, Matt, we're going to have to close out this show, but I tell you what, brother, you know how much we love you. We love your work. Where do we go from here? Where does Matt go forward, and where can our listeners find out more about you?
You can always track me on my website, which is mattbaglio.com, www.mattbaglio.com. Hopefully, again, I'll be having this other book come out, and it's kind of different. And you mentioned earlier your love of the occult and kind of looking into that kind of world. I mean, I think that it touches a little bit on that. It's not Catholic. It's not demonic. It has nothing to do with demonic possession, but it's a novel, and so hopefully it's something that some of your listeners will keep their eye out for in the future.
Absolutely. All right, Nathan, what do you say we pay the bills and close out the show?
As long as Matt's willing to hang on the phone for 1 minute after the show so we can talk to him.
Matt, do you have a couple seconds to hang on after the show?
Sure. Absolutely, guys.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys. Special thanks to Matt author, Matt Baglio, New York Times bestselling author. Anyway, special thanks to all our homes, all our sponsors, Stitcher Smart Radio, Planet Paranormal, Action Audio Apps. Hey, are you guys listening? Because they want to know. So check them out at actionaudioapps.com. Midnight Syndicate, Free Music Archives. Thanks for the tunes from the haunted backroads of America. This has been another G&D exclusive interview. Don't go changing America. You know we won't. Demon Hunter.
Because we love you.
Night, guys.